Previously on Sins, the Hero's Tale, Jura was awoken in his rack by the sound of yelling on the Hoodwink's main deck. Gar was on a warpath, and it seemed as though not even his own crewmen were safe from his rage. Something was wrong, and when the captured Navy men were cleared of suspicion, Gar demanded the party be woken up and brought out. Jura, Charya, and Okazad soon found themselves standing tall before the seething mad Yanti captain, and the naval brig he'd captured was nowhere to be found. After a moment's wait, one of his crew emerged from the ship and revealed that Thalia was gone as well. Gar's anger boiled over, as he now believed the party had stolen from him. Believing Thalia had betrayed them, Okazad let slip Cervantes' ability to consume ships, which only served to irritate Gar further. He warned that he would take the party as far as Card, but afterward, he would not be offering them further aid. Gar retired to his quarters, and the Hoodwink set sail with the naval frigate in tow. During the trip, Okazad and Charya spoke with Ulela and Asir respectively. Both assured them that, while Gar was furious at the moment, he would eventually calm down, and simply didn't like surprises. He did, however, find a somewhat pleasant surprise when Jura entered his quarters to speak to him. He managed to calm Gar, and was also able to convince him that Cervantes may be nothing more than a construct of Thalia's kitsune magic. The Hoodwink carried the party to Card's capital city of Antebellum. Here, they located the Ivy and moored at the docks, and met with Sebastian and Lucian on deck. Sebastian explained that he had arranged a meeting in town, and that there was time before this occurred. Making the most of that time, Charya brought Jura and Okazad through town to the bank, where she remembered a path to the Underdark existed. Solving the magic puzzle to get underground, the three emerged beneath Card, in the city-state's Underdark capital, Umbridge.
We live.
You do.
For
For
now,
how
at least.
long, though?
Well,
So you guys-
some of us
you
longer
guys-
than others.
Yeah.
So y'all have emerged from the other side of, or the underside of the bank after having solved the little illusion trick last time. Charya, you have taken the form of a full drow, much to your chagrin.
Yes, I do not like this.
And the Kenku manning the counter, who has witnessed this, has simply looked at you and given you a little okay sign with his feathered fingers.
Well, I'm gonna kind of look to the party and be like, well, follow me and don't step way too far. They might abduct you for, reason.
Lovely.
I mean, they'll be pleasurable for the first little while, but if you bore them, then... But first thing she's gonna do is she's gonna head over to the Kenko at the counter.
He looks at you like, I don't know if you've ever seen a grackle before, but it's a little black bird we get in Galveston, full black feathers and just almost glowing like yellow eyes. So he's kind of looking like that. He looks up at you. Yes?
And this is a bank, correct? Just to make sure.
Of course.
I would like to see if there's an account under the family name of Arabath.
He raises what would, I guess, where an eyebrow would be if there were no feathers in its place. But he looks sort of past your shoulder at the two with you, and then past them to the door. And he nods slowly, and you see him push the chair he's in out, and he bends down and he starts rummaging through a couple of drawers. It takes him a moment. It looks like whatever he's getting is hidden pretty well on this counter. But he does pull out an old, what looks like an old wooden chest, almost rotting, it's so old. He flips it open, one of the little legs actually comes undone, and the box starts to tilt. But he pulls out a small envelope, and when he opens it, he unfurls a single folded piece of parchment. It looks like there was an account opened by a Veskira Arabith some 15 years ago?
That would be my departed mother.
My condolences.
Was there anything still in the account, or anything in storage?
It looks like it was largely cleared out. There was a transfer some time ago to a branch in the Crystal Cape Underdark. A beneficiary, or that's what it says here.
Wouldn't happen to be a name on that beneficiary, would it?
Actually, let me call that in for you.
And you see him set the paper down, like on the other side of the bars that separate you and him.
Mm.
And he goes back, and in the back corner there's what looks very similar to the scrying orb that Lucian gave you before, sitting on a little three-pronged pedestal in the corner. And he waves his hand over it, and it glows as if activating. And he yells into it,
Marcus! Marcus! Marcus?
What?
The Arabith account that was opened, or that was closed some time ago. Who was the beneficiary that took stuff out?
Are you really going... Fine.
and you hear the rustling of paper from the other side of the orb. The Kenku you're looking at seems to just be arms crossed, but waiting patiently as he taps a taloned foot against the stone floor.
There's no family name. Given name says, Shinwei. Some woman named Shinwei cleared it out.
And you watch as the Kenku deactivates the orb and walks back to you.
So apparently it was a woman named Shinwei. Does that ring a bell for you?
And she's gonna kind of think on it for a minute.
I'll tell you right now, you know who it is.
Yeah, I was scrolling back up through all of my list of stuff that I have in our DMs. I don't really like. Unfortunately, I do think I know her. Well, thank you at least for telling me where at least the materials inside had been sent.
Of course.
And of course, if you could keep this more on the quiet end, that would be preferred.
This is the Underdark, my dear. Discretion is what we do.
Sometimes, not always, but thank you. I do trust you at least.
Of course.
And he slides pretty much exactly the way it was. He slides the folded parchment back into the envelope and the envelope back into the box. He goes to close the box, another leg falls off.
Oh, God damn it!
Well, with that, she's gonna kind of walk back to the group. Well, there's one thing done. Now we head to inspect that family. Though, Okazad, I think
saying nothing.
No, I need to apologize.
He just, like, calmly looks back at you.
During your time as captain on the ship, you have had to put up with my antics, I should say. And I do think that me undermining your position as captain did not help any of the situations we've been in.
He doesn't say anything. He's just looking at you to see where it goes.
So, I was already heading into town. I was already going to put in an order for one of the clothing shops in the area to also work on, or rather, one of the clothing and armory shops to get a new outfit for myself. But I was wondering if I could maybe treat you to something.
I'll give it some thought.
But first, let's just go to the family. One, thing, Descador. Or no, sorry, no.
Yeah,
Naridi.
Descador is in Antelia.
Yeah, sorry, I was reading that wrong. Yep, Naridi. Which I'm going to start heading out towards the Naridi family estate.
All right. You leave the bank, and the first thing you notice, Charia, to you, this is a breath of familiar fresh air, but Jura and Okazad, you notice this place is freaking dark. Like, there's some lanterns hanging outside of all of the establishments and homes that provide at least a little bit of illumination, but outside of some very large bioluminescent mushrooms growing out of the upper rocks, like high above the city, there is very little in the way of light down here. And as you exit the bank, you start to walk down the city streets. You notice that Jura and Okazad are getting a couple of odd passing glances from the people here. They're mostly drow with a small handful of kenku, and you actually notice a couple of darker furred kitsune here as well. But you notice that they stare at Jura and Okazad, but nobody really gives it any mind.
Fair enough.
And Charya, if you would like to roll a perception with advantage.
Yes, because I know what people are doing. They're sizing them up. Perception with advantage.
15?
15.
There's about 5 or 6 archers on the rooftops, clad in black robes, very... Like, unless you were looking for them, you would not be able to see them, but they've got arrows trained on Jura and Okazad, and they're just watching.
Yeah. I'm just gonna kind of turn my head back while I'm kind of looking up and be like, yeah, seems like you two have attracted some fair amount of attention.
And from that, you're able to piece together that while the humans topside are very brazen with their distrust, the drow down here will keep their mouths shut.
Can't imagine they get many lizards down here. Can't blame them.
Mm-hmm. Well, to be honest, most things that, can't see in the dark don't come down here. Well, willingly, I should say. But
See. What time is it in game?
I think it was.
Yeah,
I would
it-
say sometime past noon.
Yeah, it would be just past noon when you get down here. So Okazad, wisdom save.
Oh shit.
My bad,
Oh,
sorry.
boy.
Yeah, this was something that happened during Thalia's little
Escapade.
one-off.
Not good.
A 5. Okay.
No.
So, you don't know what exactly is overcoming you, but something has happened and you start to feel from the top of your head all the way down to your toes, every vein in your body feel like it's on fire for a moment. And right as you begin to realize what it is and your mind begins to register the pain, again, from your head all the way down to your toes, that fire gives way to freezing cold. Even you, with your resistance to cold damage, you feel your entire body temperature begin to drop several degrees as you feel this strange something pulse through all of your veins simultaneously. And after it does, as quickly as it came, it disappears.
So am I the only one who felt that, or did everyone?
No.
You are the only one who felt it.
Should put some voodoo magic on you.
You okay there, Okazad?
It was bizarre, but I'll be fine.
Yeah, you do know that's never happened to you before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this isn't like...
Okazad just incredibly confused.
Yeah, this isn't like one of those situations, 1 out of every 4 Dragonborn. No, this has never happened to you before.
Mm-hmm.
1 out of every 4 Dragonborn suffers from.
No.
You know, Okazad's a statistical outlier. It should not be counted amongst the mass.
True. That is very true.
Yeah, so you're not entirely sure what happened to just turn you into a reverse Dragonborn Icy Hot, but...
You know, I was thinking it. I just had no reason to say it.
Yeah, you're, let me see. I guess roll me just a flat intelligence check.
Probably not.
With a 9? Must just be something underground.
He's just writing it off for now is what he's doing.
I'm curious of what that was, but sure don't care. Other than that,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
it's like,
So as you continue to walk down the streets, you're same as before. You're noticing most of the people, they don't necessarily go out of their way to talk to you, but they're not eyeing you suspiciously like the people up on the surface did. And you notice as you get a little further back from where the bank was, you notice the building has become slightly more intricate the stone and the cave walls become more carved and ornate, and you notice it does give way to a much more regal-looking set of estates.
And as we kind of start walking back further, you can kind of see a grimace forming on Charia's face. As she's never been a fan of this section of towns, especially the Underdark.
So you are able to... There is actually a small monolith where this, I guess, upper district begins. And there is actually there are several signs, like very, very nice. They almost look obsidian, with carved letters into them in Elvish, pointing to, or with different family names on them and arrows pointing towards various branching paths of this area.
Mm-hmm.
So you do find Clan Nereides, and it points you down towards... It looks a little smaller compared to some of the other manors that are here, admittedly. And you remember that Clan Nereides is not the richest clan in Umbrage, but they've still got significant holdings. And when you arrive, you are met by... Basically, it is a large... it almost looks like this place was built into a vacant space in the cave wall.
Mm-hmm.
And two very large walls come down, almost slanting as they get closer to the center. And in the space between them is a large black metal gate with an almost antique wrought iron sort of look to them.
Yeah.
And there appears to be, just like in the bank, one of those smaller scrying orbs in the wall to the right of them, with what looks like a small button underneath.
I tell, alright, stay behind me once again, and Jura, I don't recommend trying to steal their shoes. But I'll go up and press the button.
About a moment after you do, the orb flares to life, and you hear a voice emerge from it.
Yes, can I help you?
Yes, I have. I've come bearing a lost ornament of your family's family ring of the clan of Naridi.
Roll persuasion.
And I'm gonna hold up the ring itself to them.
Okay, then persuasion with advantage.
29.
Didn't even need the advantage. A moment passes, and the voice comes again.
Very good. When the gate opens, please advance to the main house.
And the orb, the light, begins to fade and eventually dwindle, and you hear a metal latch undo itself, and the gates begin to open forward, allowing you access to this estate.
Alright. I'm gonna wave the group in with me as we head on. I'm just gonna kind of look my head back. What do you two think of this type of structure here? The way it's all built?
Clearly, they have no thoughts.
No thoughts. Head empty.
It's safer to Lizard Brain says it's safer not to speak.
Like, even Okazad knows he does not want to say anything.
But now that you're in here, if all three of you would like to roll a quick perception.
Hooray, I can roll something. Where's my sheet?
And I can roll poor again.
I got a 22.
Like, you have fucking bard bullshit, so...
Okay, that one was just a 17. Like, that...
Okay, with the 22 and the 13, we'll get this. Okazad, you're still enamored by the fact that these kinds of structures can exist underground. Like, they don't really have much in the way of an Underdark in Gordatha, so this is all kind of new to you. But Jura, and to a greater extent, Charia, you notice that this place, this entire front courtyard, though small, is filled with, have either of you seen a sterling silver rose before?
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
It's basically a really, a really petal dense rose, but it has a sort of almost lavender purple sort of hue to it. You see that there are several. They almost look like the orbs seen if somebody were to cast the light cantrip, and these orbs shine over uh, several little gardens with these lavender roses growing up out of them. You don't know how they're able to sustain them without proper sunlight, but this courtyard is just filled with them, and a couple of the plants actually start to creep up the front side of the house as well. And as you enter the door, you notice there is a large knocker. It actually vaguely resembles a rose leaf itself.
My mother used to have gardens like these on our estate. That was before it burned down, but do you ever wish that you could everything could just go back to the way it was before all of this? Before joining the pirate crew?
Nope.
Clearly, Okazad doesn't either.
He has no comment for any of this.
Only comment when it's safe.
I'm sorry, we'll shrug, but I'll lead them into, or we'll walk into, like, the main building.
Oh, you just open the door yourself?
I mean, I'll knock, yeah, rather, sorry. I'll kind of
Okay.
give a quick knock.
Alright, then you lift it and you strike it 3 times. And it takes a couple of seconds, but after a while you hear the door creak open, and standing before you is a male drow whose manner of dress is actually not that different from Sebastian's. And he's got rather long silver hair tied back behind his head, and he regards you for a moment before slowly placing a hand over his chest and bowing specifically to you, Charya. He doesn't seem to regard the other two very much. Good evening. It is evening, isn't it? He checks a pocket watch, sets it back. Good afternoon. You said you had a signet ring that belongs to the lady of the house.
I do, and I'll kind of pull it out of one of my pockets and hold it out on an open palm. I found it in my travels. Where were we when we left out on the boat with the stupid goblin?
You were going from Crystal Cape to Antelia.
It was in Crystal Cape. Goblin shipmaster seemed to have taken a fair number of rings from royal families.
I see. Then, by all means, please come in. And he steps aside, one of his hands on the door, and allows the 3 of you entry.
Yep, I'll step in.
Alright, the main foyer, you notice by walking straight, there's a large set of double doors that leads Charya from what you remember of your old estate, possibly a large formal dining room. There are 2 hallways to the right and left, possible first floor bedrooms, but there are 2 quarter circle stairwells that go up the back wall, and up there is another large set of double doors with a rather large wooden rose carving above them. The butler bids you to have a seat anywhere, and he begins up the stairs to go and speak to, presumably, his master. And he enters those double doors, he closes them, and he leaves you alone in the foyer for a moment.
Well, you two can talk, you know.
Yes.
I choose not to.
Fair enough. Hopefully this affair will be done with shortly, and then if you two wish to, you can head back to the surface, or stick with me while I put in my order for my new armor that I would like.
We can't exactly leave on our own.
Fair enough.
Alright.
But I'll find a nice spot to sit down, and
Yeah, you
fall
find
back
there are,
slightly.
there are like formal couches, the sort that you would see in a study, arranged symmetrically in this waiting area.
And I start to fall back into the old style, sitting down very regally, softly,
Mm-hmm.
holding myself in a position that my clothes obviously do not.
Yeah,
Push me.
your fashion definitely betrays your regal upbringing.
That's a good thing.
And after a couple of minutes, the butler reemerges, and from the top landing of the stairs, he looks over the balcony. My lady will see you now.
And I'll stand up and kind of motion for the guys to follow me up.
As we do.
Yep.
You walk up the stairs, past the butler. He, again, hand over the chest, bows very, very politely as you enter. And he, as the three of you enter this, what appears to be a study, he closes the door behind you, and you hear his footsteps grow softer as he descends the stairs. Sitting before you behind a desk, one almost, it looks like it's made from the same kind of obsidian that those nameplates, or the nameplates on that monolith were before, is a Charia. You can tell just by looking into her eyes, an older drow woman. She has seen Underdark society for a little too long based on the expression she's wearing. But she's got very free-flowing silver hair. The sides are actually curled up over themselves, and she's got silver rings suspended on either side of her face. Her outfit is a very regal, very elegant dress, and you notice behind her on the wall there seems to be a hand-painted portrait of her with a shorter male drow, and then two young male drow, presumably her husband and children.
No.
And she regards you as she goes to look up. You notice her posture straighten as you come in. She obviously has face to save and appearances to keep up, but as she looks at you, she kind of relaxes, and you see her hands untense on top of her desk.
You're not quite what I expected.
It's what I prefer, not to be what people don't expect. But, and I do walk forward, and as I get near her desk, I do give a deep bow of respect.
She nods in return, and as she takes one of her hands and kind of places it like over top of her sternum.
My name is Nalaya Naridi.
And mine is Rhea Beth.
Pleasure is mine. Now, on to business. The, help said that you had something for me.
I do. One of your family's signet rings. And I'm going to pull it out of my pocket and set it down on the desk before taking a step back. A goblin out of Crystal Cape had been taking rings, it seems, out of those who could not afford passage.
She reaches forward and she'll grab the ring, and as she holds it up to her face, she gives it a few glances over. And roll a perception real quick.
Rolling perception.
Alright, you notice as she turns it over and looks sort of at the underside of where the signet would be, like on the opposite side, the part that would go against the top of your finger. As she looks at that, you see, just for the most fleeting of moments, her eyes grow wide before she regains her composure. She takes the ring and she sets it down next to her on top of what appears to be a couple of books. And she leans forward now, folding her hands, and she now has a much more serious look than when you first walked in, and she looks specifically at you, Charia.
Do you know where this goblin was going when he was given this ring?
He was going to Intelia.
Do you know that for this case? Grodesker had already had this ring by the time you guys
Well,
boarded.
no. Oh, I thought she was just asking where he was going. Unfortunately,
Yeah, she's asking if you knew where he went with the person who had this ring.
Alas, unfortunately, I do not. He was already in possession of it, and unfortunately, questioning him as to where they would be currently or where they had gone is out of the question, as he did not pay his tithes to the sea.
Fool.
But I figured, drow to drow, a goblin having one of these rings is a disgrace to a family.
Indeed, though it is a welcome lead.
You see, and she gestures forward.
Please have a seat.
I'll take a seat and, still hold that. I go to the noble pose. I'll go to the noble sitting thing for a second, but then quickly relax it back down.
Hmm.
This is the first lead that I've been brought in a long time regarding the whereabouts of my youngest son. Normally, clearly, you know how our society is with males, but even so, I can't help but worry. He left home some time ago. But that's neither here nor there, and that's not your problem to worry about. You've done me a service by bringing me this, and I'll, of course, compensate you accordingly.
If I find any information about your son, I will attempt to forward a letter to you as to the whereabouts.
As she starts to open one of the drawers in her desk, but stops, and while looking down, her eyes flit up at you almost like a teacher staring over their glasses.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Nils. Nils Neredy.
And she looks back down and she continues rummaging through. She finds, you hear some jingling as her hand rummages through the drawer.
I assume money is as good a payment as any.
Money will do, yes.
Hmm.
She pulls out a silken red satchel, about definitely big enough to where she needs to like wrap her fingers around it to cup it properly. She sets it down on the desk with a jingle and she'll shove it forward towards where you're sitting.
I'll kind of scoot forward and inspect it to, just proper checking it out, make sure it's, real money for one, and two, just to generally see if I can get an estimate of how much there is.
Okay, so that'd be a perception then.
Yep, just give me a second. Perception 11.
It's definitely real, and it really, as long as you got above a 10, I'd have said this was fine, but it's definitely real, and from what you're counting, the weight you're feeling, having, a decent feel for money and its value, you'd say there's about 500 gold in this bag.
I give a very polite nod, and like I said, I'll be sure to send in information if I can find anything about your son.
Very good. Thank you, Miss Beth.
I'll stand up and I'll give another deep, polite bow before starting to head towards the exit with my two lizard pets, quote unquote.
As you turn to leave her, you hear her voice, and this time it almost echoes across this study.
Just a moment.
And she's gonna stop and turn on her toes, or turn on the ball of her feet and her heel and look back.
You said you were attempting to go to Antelia.
Yes, I was.
I assume you didn't end up here just to deliver this ring to me.
I have my reasons for being.
Well, I'm not certain how much help I could provide, but If you have any questions regarding whatever has brought you here, there is a sanctum just outside the noble district. You may want to try communing with Our Lady.
That was a good idea. Thank you. And I'll give another polite bow before heading out.
One other thing,
Oh.
she says.
Just stop, turn back around.
You came from Crystal Cape. How is the political situation there? Last I heard, there was a rather good acquaintance of mine who had fallen on some difficult times.
Do you know of that acquaintance's name?
Veskira, she says.
And I'll kind of tighten up a little bit. And I'll go, unfortunately, the clan Arabeth has, until kind of search for the words, been removed by some fools, to say the least.
You watch as a look of pained knowing crosses her face, and she folds her hands and starts rubbing the top of one of her thumbs with the other.
I see. I had hoped my information was inaccurate, but I suppose it is good to know.
And unfortunately, the ones who committed it are amassing as much power as they could.
Well, that is how we survive down here. Regardless, I now know to exercise caution with who I deal with for my contacts in Crystal Cape.
I do recommend an extra amount of caution with some dealings there.
I'll be sure to exercise as such. Thank you again, Miss Beth.
And I give one final bow for waiting an extra second just in case she has one more thing. And
No,
then I'll head out.
She's gone down. She's now holding her son's ring in her hand, and she's looking at it almost with a 1,000-yard stare. Like, you can tell her body's here, but she's not.
And I'll just, as the door is starting to close, I'll just be like, though the Arbeth may be gone, though the Arbeth structure may be gone, there are those who do still exist. As the door shuts, I very quickly start heading out.
You hear, from what you can see going down the stairs, there's no effort made on her part to get up or come after you in any way.
And once we're outside, I'm going to take the deepest breath possible and just be like, God, I fucking...
Yes, the Drow nobility games of intrigue wear heavily on you.
Mm-hmm. The problem with the Drow style of intrigue here is just as quickly as one is saying they're a friend, the next moment they have a crossbow pointed at you or have removed you from the equation. I'm not sure if you've had to deal with that, Okazad or Jura.
How astute of you.
Can't say I have, no.
What was the
And I
question?
hope you...
It-
She basically said that, Drow political games are a minefield, that one second you're fine, the next second you're dead and or enslaved.
Yeah, she was implying that one person could say they're your friend, but once they figure something out about you, they could stab you in the back.
Oh. Yeah, backstabbing. I know all about that.
I hope you never have to deal with the Drow level of backstabbing in the higher cultures.
Why do you think I haven't said anything until now?
I've got one final stop to make at the clothing store, and I'll probably take her advice and commune with the lady, but that I'll at least save for my own time. Once I get my clothing, I'll get you guys to the exit so we can get you to the port quicker.
That would be wise.
Okay, I would say it's getting a little closer to 1 by the time you manage to make it back to the town proper. And following some signs and pointing, or asking a couple of passersby which way to go, they do point you to a place called Umbral Apparel.
Have you given it some thought, Okazad?
Quite frankly, I don't even know what I would get if I were to accept.
Then how about you let a woman's intuition lead this one?
Better than me fumbling in the dark, no pun intended.
And Chariot gives a small smile at that as she heads on in.
You enter Umbral Apparel, and you notice there isn't really much of a counter to speak of. There's a small table with what has a couple of locked drawers in the far corner. You imagine that's probably where the money from the transactions are kept. There are a couple of full-length mirrors on the walls, and you notice there's a woman walking around. She's actually measuring another woman for presumably a dress, but this woman, she's got what looks like, I don't want to call it a body stocking because that's not really what it is, but it looks like if she put slipped her head through the center of a spider web.
Mm-hmm.
And the web, it's like a black spider web style dress running down the length of her body, and as it passes her waist, it gives way to kind of a Morticia Adams looking dress. And the web, obviously, like above her chest, it has fabric between the web areas covering what it's supposed to, but it basically looks like she's got a spider web draped over her.
Mm-hmm.
And as she regards you now, those crimson drow eyes, like they look at you and then they flit back to Jura and Okazad, and she stares at them a moment before you see that smirk return to her face.
Welcome, welcome. Were you here to peruse?
Yes, I would like some custom made out for me and my 2 friends, to say.
She gives you a bit of an eyebrow raised look when you call them friends, but
I'm doing it in the air quote style.
Yeah. Then she shakes it off and she nods. You watch, and she holds up one finger.
All right, just let me finish up with this customer and I'll be right with you.
Take your time.
And you watch her with a measuring tape. She gets a couple of other measurements from the woman standing on top of this little tiny footstool. She writes them down and goes over to that table and inserts them, and she escorts the woman down, and as she gets her all squared away with the money and sends her on her way, you hear her say,
All right, I'll make all the alterations. Just come back in a couple of days.
Okazad kind of whispers to Charia real quick. She's probably going to find out the wings, you realize, yes?
I'm just gonna kind of lean back into him. Trust me, they won't touch you as long as I'm here.
So then
Okazad gives him a bit of an unsure look, but otherwise says nothing.
So she takes you watch her take the measuring tape. She kind of folds it in half and then drapes it over the back of her head so it's hanging down over both of her shoulders.
And you said you'd like a custom job?
Yes, I need something more elegant than this, but also with the effectiveness of, well, armor, as my job does entail some rough dealing.
You see the smirk give way to a full grin.
Ooh, that sounds like a wonderful challenge for my skills. Please, step up.
And she gestures to the stool that the woman was on in front of a large mirror.
Yep, and I'll get up on there, and I will need a similar job done for the 2 of them. They have been traveling with me for a while, and I do think that they deserve something nice.
Very good.
And she looks over. Okazad, you feel her eyes linger on you, and roll perception.
If only that was advantage.
Oh, even then, with an 18, you feel her eyes settle on you, and you feel yourself being traced by this woman's gaze. She She looks from your head all the way down to the tip of your tail, and then when her eyes come back up, you notice they settle on your shoulders, looking back and forth, specifically at the wings that you keep draped over them. And then you see her eyes flit over to Jura. She does something similar, but this time her gaze lingers on his tail. And as she walks over to help Charya, as you step up and as she goes to work, you notice very quickly, like almost a mile a minute, this measuring tape is being lightly wrapped around various parts of your body. Some you never even knew you had. But she is getting pretty much every single measurement. Some of them she takes twice just to make sure that they're accurate. And while she's working, you actually, you hear her say,
So, what auction did you get that half-dragon from?
Well, let's just say it was a very good deal out of town.
I'll bet. That other one must be an out-of-towner too. I've never seen a lizard folk like him before.
He's from the fire swamps, but he's... Unfortunately, if you're thinking about if they're for sale, they're not. Though the half-dragon, if you throw a big enough offer, I might consider it. And I'll kind of look back with a teasing glare at Okazad.
He just rolls his eyes at that and just like continues just like waiting.
The measuring stops, and you notice she continues to record everything, but every so often she flips to the page behind the one on her notepad that she's writing your measurements on. She'll write down a couple of numbers, she'll flip back, continue writing your measurements, flip over one more time, write a couple more numbers.
Okay, so we'll be able to get this all situated. And for the record, would something like this count?
She flips open the second page and shows it to you.
How much are we looking at?
It's in your Discord.
No. Let's see. I kind of look at it and I go, I don't think that he would, I don't think that's really a fair price for someone who does have extraordinary magical capabilities, to say the least. Having seen them up close and personal in very intimate use against people I do not like.
You watch as her eyes light up, and I'm not exactly sure what a blush would look like on someone with olive black skin, but you, as a half-drow, are able to recognize that, and you see her very giddily twirl her pen between her fingers.
Well, are we talking business or are we talking business?
Okazad is sweating nervously.
Oh, your ass is about to get sold to sex slavery.
Well, she'll kind of think on it and be like, I do enjoy his company, but at the same time, a good enough price could make me consider anything. And trust me, he's not all just for show. You say that he is half-dragon, but it's not exactly the full story.
Deception with advantage.
Well, wow.
Okay, so I do actually have to roll against that.
And
5. Doesn't freaking matter. So you beat her outright, and she writes down a new number and shows it to you.
let me see. And I'll tap my chin. If you know what? I think that number would be good if you throw in the outfits too with it.
And persuasion with advantage.
I whispered to Jura immediately, I'm about to be sold off.
Critical.
There's nothing I can do here, buddy. There's nothing you can do here, buddy.
What the fuck?
In our lizard
You
brain.
can see a look of indignation on him.
Flashbacks towards Mom
So,
and Dearest are happening.
With that, she will with a nat 20,
Mhm.
She will accept that. She will give you that amount. She will doll you up and those two up, and she will give you a coupon for a future visit.
Ooh, I like that offer. And I kind of look at her and I look to Okazana and be like, deal, miss.
So, are you going to be in town for a while?
We should be in town for a few days at least.
Perfect. This should take me... mm, I'd say about 2 days to get everything done, but I can definitely expedite it a bit for this.
I'll take it at whatever speed you can give it.
Of course.
So she now bids Jura.
You, the strong-looking one. On the stool, please.
I just follow as commanded.
Yeah, and I'm gonna kind of walk over to Okazan and be like, I'm just gonna tap him on the shoulder with a smile.
So you are Jura, she does something very similar to what she did with Charia, where you feel this measuring tape go across your body. Some of the areas where your scales are a little thinner, specifically under your arms and on the area of your underbelly, it actually kind of tickles when she does it. But you notice she spends an awful lot of time on your tail. Like, she is very enamored by this. But eventually she completes her measurements, she writes them all down, and she holds out her hand to help you down from the stool.
I guess I'll take her hand and get down to the stool.
While they're up there, I'm gonna kind of pull Okazan a little bit back further away from her while she's talking with them and be like, and just very quietly, whisper into his ear, don't worry.
I have every right to worry.
As you say that, she turns to Okazad, and she basically, she looks at you as she walks to where the table is. She goes in, she unlocks one of the things. You hear a lot of jingling. And she basically pulls out an entire freaking box that clanks with the sound of coin as she sets it down. And she brings it over to Charia with what looks like a great deal of effort and hands it to you.
Alright, I'll, open it, I'll kind of set it down so that way I can open it up and inspect it to make sure, this is a good deal and all that.
Alright, then quick perception, I guess, just for posterity's sake.
20.
Soft 20? It's all here.
Okay. I will close it up and, with a smile, kind of look her over and be like, treat him good. He is a very good pet.
She now turns to you, Okazad, and she grabs your hand opposite the one that your arcane focus is on, and she begins to pull you towards a back room.
Your measurements are going to be a little more difficult, so come back here.
And
He decides that follows.
So you enter this room behind a pair of very, very thick curtains. There are a couple of mirrors in here. There's a couple of candle sconces for lighting. And she says, "I'll be right back." She goes out the way she came. And Charia, you notice she goes in this door sort of next to the table. And there is a good almost 10, almost 15 minutes to Okazad. You're waiting in this room for her to come back. Charia, you watch as she descends the stairs about 15 minutes later in a much more risque outfit, shall we say. And she almost dances through those curtains back to where Okazad is. Okazad, you are trying to gather the combat efficiency of what you see her come in wearing. You've seen leather armor before, but you're quite certain that leather this thin would serve no purpose in blocking blows. And what is you've never seen someone use a crop whip as a weapon before. What is she doing?
He's not this stupid, you realize.
So just so you know, Drago, this
I'm
is
well aware of what this is.
OOC.
What the fuck did you sign me up for?
And MJ, or Charia, you see her head pop out from behind the curtains.
Could you turn the open from closed on your way out?
Oh, of course, and do be gentle. It would be his first time.
you see that same like devilish grin come back, and she kind of bids you off with her hand, like shoo shoo.
And I'm gonna kind of lead Jura out and turn the sign politely and close the door. And I just kind of look at Jura and go, "We'll get him in a few hours."
Cool. So
His mind is going to be broken by the time we get him back.
we'll
Yes.
leave that. So we'll leave that. Camera fades to white. So what else are you guys gonna do?
So wait, that was selling for just one instance?
What do
Well,
you-
no, she thinks that she's getting him forever.
Okay.
I'm not.
Okay, because I was about to say, that seems like a lot of money for just one instance.
Oh no, like we're doing 6,000. We're getting the coupon. We're getting the dresses and all that. Which we should probably leave him there for 2 days to get all the nice clothes.
Okazad is going to be absolutely livid when you get back, just so you know.
He's gonna be absolutely broken in the mind.
I was like, isn't he gonna try to escape or some shit? Because he doesn't realize he's just been sold.
If he
does
tries to escape, he's
No,
gonna get
he
killed.
kind of has an idea he's just been done in.
If he tries to
And I
escape, he'll
want
get
this
killed.
to be known, Drago, OOC.
I mean, you told him nothing about you coming back for him.
I
So
said,
what,
don't
he's just
worry.
gonna go quietly?
Well,
I
he's
mean-
he's in a place where
Yeah, like, he knows there's no escaping from this place. He's basically just been fucked. Both
Well-
metaphorically
Not
and
yet.
literally about.
But OOC, just so you know, I have been talking this over with Chris and Zach as a small sort of punishment for how Okazad has been wording his encounters with certain captains. Don't worry, we're coming back for you. OOC, we're coming
He
back.
doesn't know that. He's going to be
Oh, yeah,
livid.
no. Oh yeah, no, I know you're going to be livid, but you're going to have a
No,
good
I'm
time.
not livid. It's kind of funny watching this, but he's going to be absolutely fuming when you get back.
he's
Yeah,
gonna have
you'll have a
stories.
nice time.
It sounds like more like he's gonna be steaming.
It's just gonna
Party
be one of those things.
hard.
She's
Hey,
gonna
he might
be-
enjoy it. You never know.
Mhm.
He might learn some things about himself.
Let's roll a D100 and see what you get.
He's just gonna, lean back. She's gonna be.
Yeah, go ahead, Deadlock. D100.
What? Oh god, what was it?
I originally wasn't going
See
to.
how
but
much he enjoys this.
What is it even? Is it the right command? Yes, that is.
44. Hmm.
He's not totally okay with this.
I think it's a mix of the situation of suddenly being sold off by his crew.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Like you're unable to actually put yourself in the moment. Your mind is too wrapped up with thoughts of like you've
Gonna
been
kill
betrayed.
Sharia.
Yeah,
Yeah, pretty much.
But you don't totally hate the situation either.
You don't entirely hate it, but your thoughts are too obsessed with like, why did she bring me down here? Why did she sell me? Why is your finger there? Take that out.
Pretty much.
Why am I being chained to the bed?
Anyway, so
But,
Charya and Jura, you are still both in the Underdark and very free. So what are you doing?
Well, I'm gonna go commune with the lady real quick, and then I'll head back up to the surface so we can get everyone else in.
Okay, you find the sanctum just fine. It's pretty much inundated with clergymen. There's a bunch of people. Like there's a long, like a road just filled with people going here, seemingly on pilgrimages. And you, it takes a little while. Like you're waiting in line for about 45 minutes, but you do eventually get your audience. You go into this centermost area. Let me change it up. And you are both standing in a room where, very similar to the sort of series of puzzle rooms that led you down here in the first place, the first half of this room is, lit up with candles and lanterns, so you can see just fine. But as you get to the center of the room, it fades to a magical darkness that you cannot see through, and you assume the rest of the room is just veiled in blackness, but you start to hear out of the corners of the room the faint crying of crows? Ravens, you think? And you see a couple of the birds actually do materialize out of the corners of the room, and they fly into the magical darkness. 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, then 16. Eventually, there's a good couple of hundred all flying in there at once. And all at once, the cawing stops. And you hear gentle footsteps as a woman dressed in a sort of what I can best describe as a gown that looks almost like a black sundress.
Mm-hmm.
She steps out of the darkness towards you. Her eyes are... her face is hooded, but you can see her eyes are completely blacked over. And she almost seems to float there as she emerges from the darkness into the light, almost as if she doesn't want to touch the ground now that there's light on it. But you are now standing before what you, as a denizen of the Underdark, know is Marluxia, the goddess of darkness.
I will give a solemn bow to Marluxia before giving her a small prayer that the darkness may help hide me and help me succeed in my goals before I look up at her.
Yeah,
I'm looking... Oh, good.
As you're bowed down, as you utter this prayer, she places her hand very gently on top of your head, and she says to you,
You may rise, my child. Tell me, what is it that you seek here?
I seek 2 things: direction for a goal and direction for the directionless. I am lost from the crows of my murder, the murder having been slain by those who wish to tarnish my family's name. At the same time, I am also hunting one who would use the darkness as a weapon against any who would even think about rising against them, be they a follower of you or not.
Secrets for secrets, my child. Just what do you have to trade with us?
I am the last surviving member of the Otterbeth family, with my mother Baskira's blood flowing through my veins. I am the last heir to the line of blood Otterbeth. Having escaped with my life, just barely, from those who wish to hunt me and those who wish to stamp out the life of my family.
Marluxia gives a solemn nod.
And for the other?
And for the other... oh god, sorry, my throat. Oh, fuck. I have sold part of my soul, part of my being, to a vampire pirate lord who I wish to gain power from, and nothing else. So that way I may exact revenge upon those who would try to stamp out my bloodline.
Very well, child.
And Jura, you can't help but notice, but every time this woman says something, you feel this inexplicable wave of almost gentleness come over you. It's almost eerie how comforting it is to listen to her speak.
For the problem with your murder, my child, there is one in the Underdark in Antelia, one who has likewise fallen upon hard times, though not of the same. He may be able to help you. Seek out, if you dare, Don Navarre.
And you can roll history with advantage for that name. $16. Basically Underdark Mafia. You recognize the name Don Navarre. He's the head of a Shadar Kai crime family in the Antelian Underdark.
And as for this denizen of the shadows that you pursue. I have heard recently that one such person has arrived in Card and has been hiding out here. I unfortunately do not know where, as they have not entered the Underdark. I fear they may be somewhere on the surface, or perhaps just below. Perhaps there is someone in the city above that may be able to guide your search.
I'm going to very softly bow once again. And I'll thank you, my lady.
You have to go through all the doors opposite of the order you went in on the way down. And you manage to exit through the...
Yeah. Before I go out, I need to check and see. I'm going to use a level 3 slot for Disguise Self.
Okay. And you take on the full red hair
I go.
again.
Yep, I go back to the same exact look.
All right, you exit in surprisingly not the same room that you went in from. You seem to be in some kind of counting room, maybe a storage room. But there's another gnome there, not the one that you saw when you walked in. She's significantly younger, almost teenage. And she looks at you like,
Wait, there's something behind that door?
No.
And as you get closer to this manor, you notice that there's not a whole lot of greenery in the courtyard. Certainly not as much as there was walking up to the Nerity estate. But what it You
Yeah.
can flavor that however you want, but you've got him distracted from what Charia's doing.
Okay.
Yep, and I make sure to give exactly the. It was 70 gold, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I give him exactly 70 gold over.
Okay, then Sebastian walks up and he sets exactly that 70 on the counter and slides it forward. The old man takes it, counts it. Dramatically over Antebellum. And right as it seems like credits were about to roll, the camera drops, falls through about 15 stories of ground, and it pans over the clothing shop, and you just hear... And that's what...
Roll to see how many scars you get by the end of this one.
Oh, they would never damage the flesh. That is the best part.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure those other things don't do that.
I meant on your mind.
No, true.
So there's that. Next time you guys will head to the meeting.
And hopefully rescue Drago.
Well, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Worst comes to worst, we'll leave him behind.
Get you later, dude.
And we'll come back in a couple of months.
We'll tell mommy dearest that you've been stolen, and maybe she'll do something. Probably not. I don't know.
Sure.
Totally.
He's not happy.
You know what? I'm gonna close
I
this.
did kind of just imply that she's whooping his ass down there.
Yeah.
Okazad is going to be fuming when you get back to him.
On a side note, I'm gonna end this session. I'm gonna, give my final thing on this session. It's completely unrelated. Apparently, nutritionists say pizza is healthier than breakfast than cereal with milk. That is your one good thing for the day.
Depends on the cereal and depends on the pizza, but yes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of factors into that. I guess. Yeah. Anything to end on with the session there, MJ?
No, I think we're doing good, and we're gonna hopefully murder a vampire.
Jared's been very good lately. He hasn't murdered anyone.
I
Do
know.
we have to murder the vampire?
Well,
we could
depends
maybe
on the choices he gives us when we
Can I
arrive.
keep it?
Girin did specifically say to Charia that she'd prefer Boudreaux be eliminated.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then never mind.
We don't have to follow orders for 1-to-1. It's still our choice at the end of the day.
And luckily, I have a very nice dagger that I need to use.
This is true.
I prefer to use. I haven't had a reason to go to the orphanage just yet, but I think his would be a good personal.
Yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Anyway,
Anyway.
goodbye, everybody.
Well,
Bye.
bye.
Bye.